You live, Chris?
Yes.
All right, you're recording, Lila?
Thank you
Yes.
for the
All
reminder.
right, we'll call the meeting to order, the January 7th, 2026 City Council meeting, 6 p.m. Please, oh, sorry, we got to do a roll call. Everybody's here and accounted for. For the record, please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. I've got something I want to read before we get to consideration of the agenda. It's really, a procedural thing. So, city is under open meeting law and a public posting requirement and the city charter. Together, these require advanced posting of items to be considered for possible action, including who's affected and how they're affected. Dune City strive to publish all agendas with backup 7 days in advance. Over the last 18 months, Lila's done a great job doing that. The holidays sometimes make this difficult between Christmas and New Year's and posting dates. But one of our concerns, or one of the realities, is the mayor and council must not discuss any agendized item as a group as far as quorum goes, in person, online, or by electronic message or any such thing. That would be an illegal, potentially serial meeting. Any needs of the city council should be funneled through me, the mayor. I have one direct report, the city administrator, and then all the employees report to the city administrator. And she'll deal with staff as necessary. Additionally, city charter prescribes by law the process to introduce any new legislation, as in rulemaking, modifications to an ordinance. All of our ordinances are a law of the city of Dune City. So any addition, deletion, or revision to an ordinance requires 2 meetings or 2 readings. So it can be adopted in a single meeting if it's noticed in advance far enough. But you've got to provide the revised language for our consideration, the mayor and council's consideration, and public's consideration, and have a work session, if you will, and then make recommendations for adoption, and then it's read again and adopted as an ordinance, and that requires its own posting. So to be absolutely sure we comply with that, we've got to be careful. I know, Larry, you have something you want to cover, and we have to be careful. We cannot change an ordinance by a motion. We can motion to revisit an ordinance and then open it up for the same discussion. And I understand sometimes this process is cumbersome and confusing, and it is very slow and deliberate by design. It avoids any changes without notice, public participation, and discussion prior to adoption. So with that, we'll get to consideration of the agenda, and before we make any motions on the agenda, I'm going to request that we delete 5B, Chet's Trail. We got some correspondence. This is being reviewed by our attorney. We've contacted the 2 property owners where there's an easement or a right, and we got some attorney advice that it's a bit premature. There needs to be some more research. So, abundance of caution, we'll just table that to a future meeting when we get additional information. So I'm not going to continue it to a date certain. Once we have additional information, we'll put this back on the agenda. So if we strike 5B, I'll entertain any other adjustments to the agenda.
I'd like to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Given what you've indicated and the fact that I tried to communicate several times with City Hall and with the council members to have this placed on the agenda, I do have a resolution that is not designed to change the ordinance this evening. And a resolution doesn't need to have the advance notice that you're talking about. It's a resolution right here. I brought it with me. I asked if you wanted to receive it in advance. I didn't get any response. So I have it with me this evening, and I hope the council will give due consideration to it. If we want to change an ordinance later, we can follow the timelines that you described.
Well, I guess per Robert's rules, if you want to add an item to the agenda,
Which I asked to do.
2/3 in favor of adding the item. My other concern would be without any posting or advance notice, I would be hesitant to approve a resolution tonight. That's just my gut. 'cause
Well, I
haven't
think
seen it.
you're stalemating my attempts. I
No.
contacted the council, I contacted City
Okay.
Hall. As a sitting member of the city council, I tried to reach out to you, put a resolution on tonight's agenda. I got no response. Now, I know that we're not supposed to have serial communications for open meeting law, so I strictly followed that. Okay, I asked if you wanted one. I told you I'd be bringing it with me this evening. You gave me no indication that you were gonna, nobody gave me, I sent you an email the same time I sent it to her, I sent it to all council members, I got no response. So, with all due respect, I have provided the resolution. It's here in front of us. I gave you advance notice that I would be bringing it with me. And now you're gonna say, well, the calendar and posting don't allow us to bring it up this evening. That's unacceptable.
Mayor, may I say something?
Please,
I can speak for myself, I did not respond because of the fact I have a quorum.
me too.
So,
I agree.
Yeah.
that's
so
the
I'm-
only reason,
I
I
didn't-
was not meaning any
I didn't need a
disrespect to you,
response
Counselor.
from you.
I was just not saying because of a quorum, and
I-
that meets the definition of a quorum.
And I'm good with that. I wasn't
Okay.
trying to create a quorum. I
And-
was trying
I got it.
to
Larry.
let you know that I had a
You did.
resolution.
And my concern was, and the reason I just read that is, I didn't reply either because we sent it to the attorney and it was over New Year's holiday and we didn't get an answer until Monday afternoon. And it was too late to post anything, so I'm happy discussing anything that has to do with city business, but we're not gonna rush anything.
No, I have a resolution.
Okay.
And if you look at the statute allows us to pass a resolution. So I have brought a
Yes.
resolution with me.
Okay,
Okay? I did what I could do in contacting Lila and you all to give you advance notice that I would be bringing this with me. I wasn't asking for a
Right.
quorum, I wasn't
All right.
asking for discussion, but I did what I could possibly do to bring this forward tonight.
okay. So,
The problem is if more than 3 people or 4 people respond to that.
No one
then you-
responded to it.
But if more than that, you created a quorum, which is against the law.
I know the rule and nobody responded, because guess what? We all know the open meeting law.
okay, so, hang on. So, report on short-term rental complaints, we have an item that's related for discussion. And so, I think we can have the discussion with that.
Okay, so
And-
you'll include my consideration of my resolution
We'll
along
see where
with
it
the
takes us.
discussion?
I'm not sure we could adopt a resolution without publishing it for any other input. So, but we can have the discussion. So, we'll have the discussion tonight. Is that satisfactory to everybody? I mean, we're gonna have the discussion either way, so,
I'm open for it.
okay.
Speaking for myself, I'm open for it.
So, that would mean the rest of the agenda we could approve as posted. I need a motion to approve, unless there's additional discussion.
I guess I would make a motion, given the audience here, depending on what people are here to visit about, whether it's the Coast Guard, item A, or the report on short-term rentals B, that we could reverse the order of those two, depending upon
Sure,
the audience.
and 7A is very short.
Right.
And the audience might be interested in that too.
Okay.
So I'm good either way. Is that a motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Rich? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So, announcements, next announcement, 5A is game day, we have a flyer. It's on our webpage already, correct? Be in this room, Saturday, January 24th, from 1 to 3. We did this last year, played board games, had snacks, lied about who caught the biggest fish, whatever is appropriate. That's such things, everyone invited. And that takes us to item 6, which is citizens' input on anything not on the agenda. So if there's something on the agenda, there'd be an opportunity to talk about that when we get to that item. Then there's a little blurb here. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. Governing body takes your input into consideration. However, in observance of open meeting law, this isn't a time for a dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen. We probably won't respond. There won't be a debate. And then the city administrator would look at whether that is something that should be put on a future agenda. So having said that, is there anybody that wants to speak? We've got a lot of yeses to speak. Anything that's not on the agenda? Anyone? All right. Seeing nothing, we'll go on to 7. I'll do 7A really fast. There's a letter, and it was not really about the Coast Guard. There was talk in Newport about where the Coast Guard's located and the helicopter, and that made the national news. They were going to move the helicopter. But the Coastal Mayors Association, of which I am a member, there was an agenda item to have a discussion about supporting or opposing the federal activities around the Coast Guard, immigration, Department of Homeland Security, and I was out of town, so I didn't go to the meeting, but I told them I didn't like the idea anyway, because there's a group of mayors that are actively opposing the federal government's activities. And I said, you know, we all, by law in Oregon, when you're sworn in, you take an oath of office, and it says you'll support the federal constitution, the state constitution, and the laws of whatever city or county you're elected to. So I said, I didn't think it was appropriate, and I'm out of town, and so I won't be there anyway. And we got a meeting summary. It's not a verbatim meeting minutes or notes or anything, but of the items discussed. And many of the small towns have resolutions of non-support of immigration activities and that sort of thing. And so I'm just reporting to you guys. I didn't participate. I frankly don't support it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it is the law, and we have a lot of laws we have to enforce. We don't agree with them all, but that's part of the gig. So, so I'm not asking for a motion or any action unless somebody wants me to participate or thinks we should do more. I'm just reporting out. Any comments? Good?
I'm against it.
Okay. Melissa?
I'm against it.
Susan? And you don't have to be against it for it. I just want to know if you have a comment. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. Larry?
No comment.
All right, thank you. And we'll, any questions from the audience? It's the other mayors that, you know, that have really taken a position not to in the city, so I also don't think it's affected us much around here, but seeing nothing, we'll go on to report on short-term rentals. So there was some discussion at the last meeting and some testimony, and so we put together a report of the majority of the complaints on our list, and it's been redacted. There's no addresses, there's no names, you're innocent until proven guilty. And so we're not here to malign anybody or anything, but all of the code enforcement, there was some question about do we do enough or do we do anything? And since we hired a code enforcement person, I can promise we do something, and there's 5 or 6 pages of visits, more than that, outlined. So every complaint is followed up, and this is difficult sometimes. There are valid things to complain about that are not a violation of an ordinance, if that makes sense. So from a code enforcement perspective, if your complaint is specific to a short-term rental, we go to the short-term rental ordinance and the nuisance ordinance and look, is this a violation of the ordinance? And the trash was one problem, and that required a bear-proof or a bear-resistant trash can. That has happened. That was one of the last items on the list. There's multiple complaints about parking, and we spent a lot of time the previous year and a half talking about short-term rentals, and we came to the conclusion that you've got to be able to park on the property, regardless of whether it's 2 cars, 1 car, or 6 cars. If they fit on the property, we don't have room for on-street parking on most of the streets. We have very narrow drive aisles. So in no complaint were the cars parked outside the property, at least the complaints that were received and investigated. So there was a lot of talk about excessive automobiles, and that in itself is not a violation if they are legally parked. So that was the bulk of these. Beyond that, I'm going to open this up to discussion. I was out of town during that discussion. I was just briefed by the city administrator and the council president. So we'll start with council. Is there anything? I mean, Larry, you've got some burning issues you want to bring up.
I mean, the general discussion, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think that there is considerable desire to revisit having short-term rentals in the city, period. And, you know, you can build a lot of things into the mix. We recognize that the previous council went to a significant effort to write a short-term rental ordinance and enforcement and, you know, that whole process. But I think it begs back to the question whether or not we want to have them at all. And so what I prepared with me this evening is I looked at the ordinance number 256B, an ordinance amending chapter 123 to title 7 of the Dune City Code of Ordinances entitled Short-Term Rentals and Other Matters Properly Relating Thereto. And the first whereas in this ordinance is whereas the City of Dune City, through its City Council, is responsible for enacting ordinances for the effective and efficient operation of the City of Dune City for the benefit of its residents. And the third whereas Dune City desires to adopt reasonable regulations on short-term rentals to protect, preserve, and promote the health, safety, welfare, peace, and quiet of the city's citizens. Now therefore, we created an ordinance. Now, I looked through the ordinance, and there are some good things in the ordinance if you want to keep doing short-term rentals, but the discussion we had last week, or the last meeting rather, was are we going to define a short-term rental as a business when we go through the business code? And I thought that's a lot of wasted effort to define what a business is in terms of a short-term rental if we have eventually no short-term rentals. So I went and I studied the question. Personally, I've been both a customer of short-term rentals, but I'm aware that many communities across the United States are moving away from short-term rentals because there are many adverse impacts and situations. And while you mentioned, Mayor, a minute ago, there's complaints, and then there's complaints that are against the regulations. But there's still complaints. There's still complaints by our citizens, whether or not they violate a particular code. So I went and I prepared for each of you arguments in favor of short-term rentals and arguments against, and I'd like to go through that. For arguments in favor of short-term rentals, for property owners and investors, there's higher income potential. Nightly rates often exceed monthly rates, and owners can adjust prices for peak seasons, holidays, and events to maximize profits. They get flexibility, and they can personally use their property for their own vacations, but then can choose to rent it out, offering control over their asset to other people. There's tax advantages. Owners can deduct expenses like management fees, cleaning, utilities, depreciation, and maintenance, reducing their tax liability. There's lower wear and tear potentially because frequent turnover allows quick identification and repair of small issues, preventing major problems. And it's a dual purpose asset. It serves as both an income generating asset and a personal vacation spot. For travelers and communities, the advantages are more space and amenities. They offer more room and a home-like comfort with kitchens and living areas that most hotels don't offer. It can be an economic boost to the community at local restaurants, shops, attractions, and supporting local economies. It can support job creation, creates work for cleaners, property managers, and maintenance providers. And it provides a unique experience, an authentic local experience in residential areas. For local governance, it can create increased tax revenue. It generates significant hotel occupancy tax revenue. It creates a regulated environment where well-regulated short-term rentals can lead to better neighborhood relations through the enforcement of noise, parking, and trash rules supported by dedicated hotlines. And it also provides work for City Hall employees. On the arguments against, the prevailing opinion seemed to be that it hollows out neighborhoods. Several have posted neighbors, not Airbnbs, and homes, not hotels, as residents realize the impact of short-term transient use of nearby properties. Short-term rentals erode neighborhood character through noise, turnover, safety concerns, unfair competition for hotels, and potential negative environmental impacts. In the community, there's an erosion of the character of the neighborhood, with guest turnover, parties, and noise disrupting the peace and quiet of residential areas. There are safety concerns as residents worry about increased transient populations and the potential for crime or other violations. And there's a loss of community. Neighborhoods can feel less like communities and more like transient hotel zones, displacing long-term residents. It makes housing for long-term rentals or for owner-occupied property resales less frequent and less attainable. It reduces the opportunity for families with children, retirees looking to relocate to the Oregon coast, and other working professionals to find suitable long-term rental housing. It reduces the stock of long-term rentals for everyone, including medical staff that regularly rotate through Florence. In terms of housing and affordability, it reduces the supply of long-term rental units in the marketplace, decreasing available housing. It creates higher prices. Fewer available homes drives up both the rents and property sale prices, making housing unaffordable for many. There's a commercialization issue. Properties often bought specifically for short-term rentals rather than being genuine home-sharing experiences further reduce the housing stock. And when people have a short-term rental, they can claim depreciation. But when a short-term owner sells that property, there's a clawback of that depreciation. And facing a huge tax bill, the depreciation expense on their rental makes it an artificial disincentive to selling and having to pay that tax bill, so that reduces the number of houses that go on the marketplace. While there is income to the city or governing authority, there are also very high costs to monitor and enforce these nuisance regulations. It does provide work for City Hall, and I've listed that as both a positive and a negative. In terms of economic and regulatory issues, commercial short-term rentals often bypass the taxes, safety codes, and regulations that hotels must follow, creating an uneven playing field. There's tax evasion, as some operators will avoid paying hotel occupancy taxes, or they'll find ways to contact potential renters without putting it through an Airbnb platform, like on a second visit. There's enforcement challenges. Regulating and enforcing the rules on numerous often hidden STRs is difficult. And there's unfair competition. Short-term vacation rentals are considered disruptive for the traditional lodging industry. The hotel industry claims that the business models of short-term vacation rental platforms offer an unfair economic advantage in two distinct ways. First, all short-term vacation rentals do not have to pay for staff and are not regulated like hotels and resorts, which increases costs substantially. This allows short-term rentals to offer lower rates compared to traditional tourist accommodations. So as I looked at this, my conclusion was that there is a contradiction for city leaders who are supposed to represent their registered constituents who live here and who are almost universally against short-term rentals, while at the same time we're incentivizing more well-to-do out-of-town people or companies to operate these properties as investments. We cannot simply address a supply or neighborhood problem at the same time we are allowing or incentivizing the use of homes for vacation rentals. Many communities around the United States, particularly those in tourist zones, are rethinking STRs. Let's learn from their sad experience. They have found that the negatives have far outweighed the positives and are now banning STRs in favor of having neighborhoods restored, housing available for workforce and families, and not favoring out-of-town interests. Now, Mayor, I brought with me the resolution, and I read the statute 256B. If you're going through section 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then when you get to the actual statute and the definitions, that would be on page 4. It says the maximum number of short-term rentals within the urban growth boundary of Dune City shall be determined. The maximum number can be changed by resolution by the city council. That's a resolution. That's not changing the ordinance, which I fully endorse doing. I fully endorse changing the ordinance in accordance with the law. But the resolution I brought with me today reads as follows. In accordance with ordinance number 256B, an ordinance amending chapter 123 to title 7 of the Dune City Code of Ordinances entitled Short-Term Rentals and other matters properly relating thereto, pursuant to Exhibit A, chapter 123, definitions 123.003, quote, maximum number of short-term rentals within the urban growth boundary of Dune City shall be determined. This maximum number can be changed by a resolution of the City Council. So I hereby make a resolution that the number of short-term rentals within the urban growth boundary of Dune City shall be 0, effective with no less than 12 months attempted notice, 365 days from the date of this resolution to the owners of each short-term rental currently permitted by the city of Dune City. No new short-term rental shall be issued and no existing motel, hotel, RV camp, RV park, campground, or resort is hereby effective. That's all I have.
Thank you. Chris?
I have a question about the formal complaint section. I know the properties are numbered for anonymity, but what's the status of 29?
That's basically the other part of your packet.
Oh, that's these?
That's all, yeah.
These are all 29?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
These 10 pages are
the
original
report.
29?
Yeah.
Only number 29.
I
Yeah.
thought these were all the complaints.
No.
That's just the one. The others are
The others were all kind of a one and done, like,
Yeah.
I heard a noise, somebody called, the noise went away, it was solved. Yeah, it's 29 as the repeat complaint.
Got
And
it.
then you have the full report, so you can read what it was and what happened.
Yeah, I read through that. It just wasn't clear that this was all
Yeah.
one property.
Yeah, they're all anonymized, but yeah, that's all over the list.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Rich, comments?
Well, it's a very apparent that we have one bad actor out of, how many do we have?
I wouldn't even say that, but go ahead. I know you're
27.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got one bad actor out of 27, and we created an ordinance that may need a little bit of adjustment. But I think the problem is gonna be is if you take this to zero, they're gonna end up going underground. And when they go underground, because Dune City will no longer have anybody to regulate this, they'll no longer be a code enforcement officer, you're gonna have calls going to the sheriff's office. Now, I believe Duke will remember when we had the sheriff come in here and explain why the sheriff doesn't come out here. And it's gonna be the same problem. You're gonna have these short-term rentals are gonna go underground. You're gonna have to call Lane County to complain about the issues, and the sheriff's not gonna show up. At least we have an avenue to deal with these. If it has to have some adjustment to it, let's make some adjustment to it, but to flat out just totally eliminate it, I think is the wrong direction, and we need to regulate it in a better manner if that's the case. So,
All right. Thank you.
because it was a problem before, there was 87 of them to start with, now there's 27, and they're capped at 32? 35.
32 is the.
35.
But
No,
the
35
the ordinance
is,
caps it
There's
at
32
35.
on here.
That's how many
And-
at one time were licensed.
And
There's
the-
less now.
The
That's
deal,
what I'm just saying.
the deal with the ordinance, from what I remember, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lila, is the ordinance gave these bad actors X amount of times of being complained against, and the inspector can go in there and say, all right, it's time to take their license. If they're individuals that are taking care of that are not responding in a timely manner, we put it in the ordinance to where we could eliminate that individual from being a caretaker for that residence or any residence in this area and eliminate that license. So let's have some control. Let's not eliminate it and create an even bigger problem or go back to what we were. Because God knows the citizens of Dune City are sick and tired of the council going here, there, back there, over there, and making no headway. This is like Groundhog's Day. We're reliving the same thing over and over and over again. That's all I got.
Thank you. Susan?
I have nothing additional from what's been said.
All right. Melissa?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Counselor Larry for putting that together. I do see both sides and reporting with what Rich said. Yes, we have gone forward, backwards, left, right, every angle. I have always not been for short-term rentals. Even going back from the very beginning, being on one of the originals, right after we got put onto the council, Rich, is when we were developing this. Going to zero may not be in the best interest. My biggest complaint has always been, how are we going to regenerate our town if we're going completely short-term rentals? I'm not for it. You do have a valid point. It will go back to the county. County Sheriff's Department's not gonna do anything for us.
Zero.
And that was, we had 4 of them here. They have too many other things to deal with. I do remember that. So we do need to go to a different way of handling this. Perhaps we need to shrink it down, but with that being said, even if we reduce the numbers of short-term rentals, we are still gonna have the underground. We still have underground right now. We have X amount of short-term rentals, and nobody can tell us how many people we have still currently underground. So is there a true way to fix everything? Probably not. This is going to be a continuous fixing item. People, you know, I would like people to remember that if they're in a CCR, we are limited on what we can do, if anything at all.
But at least we have an individual that can
Correct.
respond to it.
Correct.
Otherwise-
And that is doing their job according to what the ordinance is. So
Otherwise,
is there
we're
a right
not.
way or a wrong way to do anything? It's gonna be a hit and miss, it's a trial basis. But going to zero is probably not the best interest, but maybe having so many of them, putting a number on might not be the correct way either. We could say 5, we could say 10, we could say 20. We're still gonna have underground numbers.
I think we need Igor to put his 2 cents in here, and why have we not eliminated that, a short-term rental if it's had this many complaints?
That would be one of my
Hang on,
questions.
we're not beating up on anybody.
No,
Have you
that would
read
be
the
my
report?
questions.
Okay.
Are we following through with on our complaint processes?
Did you read this?
Are we doing you know, I would say disciplinary, but it would be more of the filing of, you know, the penalties for it, you know, that would be my thing. Are we taking care of it with how we've implemented or suggested the implementations? And in order to figure that out, we need to talk to Igor about that.
Okay.
Well, I disagree because as a council, we work through the city administrator, so I don't
Well, I
want,
mean, yeah, it
I
would
don't
be
want
a
Igor
third.
getting beat up. We have a report
No.
in here, and I want everybody to take the time to read that report. That's the one that is the property that has multiple complaints. And in no case was there a fine, because in no case was there a blatant violation of the ordinance, or if there was any violation at all, it was immediately corrected. And in many cases, there was no violation whatsoever. So it isn't a matter of, you got 57 complaints, because you can call about anything you want. You can call about air conditioner noise. That is not something that's, you know, that's in our jurisdiction or as part of a short-term rental ordinance. So I want to remind everybody of that. And I'm just here to make sure we follow the process. I'm not
Correct.
choosing sides, and I have the sometimes thankless job of, you know, having to point out both sides, but anyway.
And I don't think
appreciate it.
anybody is saying that somebody's not doing their job. I think it's just we need to dive in and make sure that the processes are
Absolutely.
being followed
Absolutely.
to the extent, and if somebody is having this many issues, then maybe we seriously do need to look back and granted, are these things that maybe we need to further explain in the ordinance? We need to update the ordinance? This is a trial basis on how we fix ordinances.
And ordinances are living documents, right?
Correct.
You need to make an
They
adjustment.
wax and they wane with how things,
Make
it's
an
a,
adjustment.
you know, like Larry had said, these are things that we're gonna live by, we have to constantly be fixed.
Yeah.
I would like to state that I, in no intent, made any mention or intent that somebody wasn't doing their job. I think
Yeah.
that individual's doing his job 100%.
Right.
And he is
So,
restricted within the law, he's not a law
Sure.
enforcement, so we
He-
can't put blame anywhere.
He's got a set of ordinances he has to follow,
Correct.
okay? And he can do more than just a STR with the money that's being paid for him.
Yeah, and he does.
So,
But I'd like to raise another point.
Well, hang on, we gotta get to the end of the
After
day.
you.
If you're done, Melissa.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Well,
Mr. Duke.
not much to say after Larry's report. I mean, I'm not near as eloquent as Larry is about it, but I'll just say what I think. I was here when it was at the 80-some. It was completely out of control. We didn't have a code enforcement officer then, so I kind of volunteered to put myself out there to be that person. I went to homes on Cloud 9, Buckskin Bob, and then one other one. Anyway, I went to those, and that was before we had an ordinance, and we were just trying to have people be nicer to their neighbors, well, the people that lived there. And it didn't work very well. And so it got to the point where it finally came to City Hall, and we seen we had to have an ordinance to rein this in some. And we did that, and we got it down to, I wasn't on the council when they made the last bit of vote, but I was there to help start setting it up. And it had a good effect. I think it got it under control some, but obviously still not enough. We got the one bad apple, as Rich was saying. And for me, it's not about complaints though. To me, it's about livability in Dune City. It's taking viable family homes and turning them into businesses. I've lived in my house for 40 years. I raised 4 boys there. There were 20-some kids in the neighborhood. I loved the sound of kids playing and having fun. I don't have any in my neighborhood anymore. Houses keep coming available. The last 2 that were up for sale have turned into short-term rentals. Zero chance that there are any family homes going to be buying them. Again, I'm going to say it's not about complaints to me. It's about the livability of Dune City and having the availability for people to move here with families, or with not families, but to buy a family home. And to me, the short-term rentals take those possibilities off of the market. And I don't personally have a short-term business next to me. I have 2 in my neighborhood. I do hear them. I hear when they're rented out. I would hate to have one next to me. I'd hate to have to, even if there's not complaints coming down, I know for a fact that people haven't complained to Dune City because they didn't think anything would get done. What Larry said, I think is valid. If it was just up to me, which it isn't, I would say none of them. I don't want any of them. But it isn't just up to me, and what Rich brought up is very valid, because there were 80-some in town and they were in underground and we had no control over that. So that's something to bring into the process. I'll say it again, I don't like them. I don't think they're good, especially for a small community like ours where they're so visible and where there's such a low amount of family home housing available to families. To me, I don't see any upside in them. We have an ordinance now. I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of a deal. But I guess what I would propose then is putting some real teeth in one, being able to get hold of the property manager or the owner and making sure it gets taken care of. Making it down to a 1-strike, 2-strike kind of a deal and you're out. And be strong about it. And if there's a real, legitimate complaint and it's not taken care of, addressed immediately, that count as a violation. You get to it and you're gone. I think too, when I put an addition to that, I think I would want to lower the amount available for short-term rentals in the area. I don't know a number. Like I said, I'd like to have none, but you know, if you're 15 or 20, but who are going to be the lucky people that are within 15 or 20?
Well, right now we're at 27.
Yeah.
So it's way down from.
I'm glad none of them are by me. My thing isn't about complaints. Mine is about livability and the makeup of Dune City. Mine isn't about complaints.
Yeah.
Although we had folks here the last meeting that had a complaint.
Right.
Kind of got this all brought to a head. So I'm all ears for everything. I just want everybody to know I'm not going. Could I do something, Mayor? Could I ask something of the audience?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
when we're done, then we're gonna,
Oh, okay.
we'll go to audience. Yeah, then we'll go all the way down.
All right.
May
I'm done.
I interject here?
Yeah.
So, I hear Rich and I hear the concerns about enforcement. I think that our code enforcement officer does an outstanding job, and I think we should keep it. I think we should find a way to afford the work that he does, because it's multifaceted. It's business licenses and short-term rentals.
I'd love to.
But I think we can afford it. I think we can find a way to keep him, and we can still go to zero.
Okay, well, let's pause for a
Well,
second.
Let me finish my
Okay.
point. My point is that we've got lots of great ideas here. You know, we recognize that it's a livability problem, and we realize that unchecked, there'll be these short-term rentals that are happening under the radar. And a code enforcement officer is part of making sure that doesn't happen. The same thing is happening in Maui. They're getting rid of all short-term rentals, and they have to have an enforcement part to that. So I think that we can find a way in our budget, giving people 12 months' notice, we can find a way to make this work financially so that we keep our code enforcement, and we have a way to protect the livability of our neighborhoods.
I'm not disagreeing, but I just don't see where you're gonna find it in the budget.
Okay.
Because the whole purpose of him being hired was because we had the money coming in from the
Okay,
STO.
but I see that we got 99,000 last year. Are we paying him 99,000?
No,
Okay, how much are we paying him?
we're not gonna get any
I know.
specifics.
We can get
It's gonna be
99.
more than him.
We can get 99,000 for short-term
No.
rentals.
Well, it says right here, short-term rentals total 99,000, the report we got at the last council meeting. So all I'm suggesting is, we're probably
Where did you
taking.
get that report?
Right
I've never
here in
seen
the
that.
packet. Right here in the packet.
That's his report, I don't think that's,
Okay, somebody gave this to me, short-term rentals, we updated the code, it's got the fees, it's got the income. In fact, that's 24 to 25, so that's actually, looks like it's 2 years worth, 99,000. So
Was
what-
it
2 years
you
worth.
rejected?
Whatever, but I'm saying, I think that.
Well, there's more than a code enforcement person. Part of that fee goes to front counter staff, and so we're not gonna digest all that today, and I would love to
I
close the
understand,
gap, so
but
I got your comment.
what I'm saying is I'm willing to have the conversation,
Okay.
because it was not the intent of my resolution to get rid of the
Okay.
code enforcement officer.
Appreciate
Quite
it.
the contrary. Quite the contrary.
All right. And I have a couple of words, and I'm gonna turn it over to the audience. So, I moved here 3 years ago today, had no idea short-term rentals was a hot topic, but I've lived through this before because I came from a very large tourist destination, one of the largest in the United States. The ordinance went into effect, I believe it was July of 2022, and it was for 2 years. It was from July 2022 to July 2024, and then everybody had to renew, and it was, I believe, May-ish of 2023, when we decided we would revisit the ordinance before it expired. And we ended up spending 13 or 14 months. So we were just after July 24 when we had a new ordinance. I think it went into effect October of, we approved it September of 24 and it went into effect October of 24. So we're under the new ordinance since that period. And we did change the fee structure substantially to cover a code enforcement officer and a cost recovery office staff. For those in the audience, it's a $500 application that's non-refundable that pays for the staff time to meet with the county on the septic and make sure they have water rights and all that kind of stuff. And then $1,000, if all that's approved, is $1,000 a year plus 5% room tax. So that $1,000 was basically, you know, if there were, we capped it at 35. If there was 35, it would pay for, our code enforcement person is not a full-time employee and doesn't receive any benefits. So it covers that cost and a little bit, the 5%, you know, we can spend a little bit on general government and the rest has to be tourist related. Room tax is a restricted fund. Only a portion can go to general government. The super majority has to go directly to tourism related. So, so a little piece of that can go to the staff time and the code enforcement. But since then, we said we would issue up to 35. At our peak, we were at 32. One of those homes that was permitted on Buckskin Bog did sell, and they didn't renew, and there's probably not a family because it was $1 million home. The reality is, because I bought 3 years ago, coastal real estate has doubled in the last 5 years. So that's part of the problem for families. It's not just short-term rentals, it's everything. But that's our reality. Homes are very expensive here, and it's difficult, you know, for a young family. So, so anyway, those permits that were renewed, that was fall of 2024. They're now on an annual cycle, and they pay $1,000 a year, so it will pay its way up to that 35 residents. So, so that's a big chunk of this. We had more. We used to have exemptions. If it was part year occupied, it had no regulation whatsoever. You could just rent it out for up to half the year, or one day less than half the year, with no regulation. So we eliminated all that. If you're gonna rent at all, you go through the process. And that's my concern. From a business perspective, we can't bury our head in the sand and say we're gonna make the number 0 and not have a way to comply. And I can promise you the sheriff's office is not gonna come for routine nuisances. So if there's no shots fired and no blood in the street, they're probably not gonna come whether it's a short-term rental or a long-term rental or owner-occupied. There's one deputy assigned to rural western Lane County at a time, basically from west of Veneta, because Veneta pays, the city of Veneta pays for a deputy. They're a little bigger than we are, so there's one. I mean, they're spread thin, and they're all over the place. So, so that's our reality. We've got to take it up. And I appreciate your comment, Larry, because if we were aggressive enough about fines, and I'm not sure in Oregon if it's against the law to simply say we write enough tickets to pay for the position. Those are typically isolated, so it doesn't become a contest of paying one's own salary by writing tickets. And it's against the law in many jurisdictions. I'm not sure in Oregon, but if you were super aggressive about illegal rentals and everything else, you could probably pay for that. But that also trickles down to everything else, like leaving, you know, at what point are we going to start harping on leaving trash cans out and start looking like a big HOA? So that's just my editorial comment. But so that's how we got here. You know, it was already happening long before I got here. It's been happening, frankly, for thousands of years, right? People use rent rooms, they're travelers in history, rented rooms. So this is not a new concept. Maui's a great example of a totally different problem. Maui is banning them universally. There's nothing that's affordable in Maui. They also have a police department. So they have the ability to enforce, and Maui just banned them last month in December, all short-term rentals. Yeah. There'll be 100 lawsuits as well. But they also have a big police department, and so that's a news bite, but that doesn't really, you know, necessarily translate to Dune City. So with that, I'm going to go down the list.
One more point, Mayor. I
Sure.
understand your editorial, but I'm thinking to myself, 99,000, we have a part-time employee.
Don't focus on that because there's not $99,000.
I am focused.
Don't. If we get to changing the ordinance, then we're going to look at the budget and go, how's it
I
affect the budget?
understand.
We're not solving that problem yet because we don't have the problem yet.
I understand.
And we don't have $99,000.
I understand.
Okay.
But whatever the income is,
Yep.
and whatever the expense is for a code enforcement officer, I
Yep.
think it's something that this council could look at.
Absolutely.
And there might be ways that we could have our cake and eat it too.
Okay. After 33 years in government, I want to see it.
Okay.
There's a lot of government that goes hungry because
Okay.
you get a one-time grant and then you're screwed in year 2. But happy to look.
Okay.
I just like the sheriff's office, they're losing that grant for that guy that's over
The
there
extra
full-time this
officer.
year.
The extra.
Remember the
Yep.
conversation?
Well, and
So-
I know the officer, he's not gonna come out and enforce anything that has to do with short-term rental. That's not his
Right.
job.
Right.
So
Noise complaints.
there's no point in even bringing it up.
Right.
There's no point in even bringing up the sheriff.
Well, we gotta bring it up, because that's the reality. We still have the sheriff's office, we still pay our taxes, and Lane County also is not interested because we're an incorporated city. They say, you're the city, you take care of it.
Right.
And so that's our reality. So the cake gets smaller and bitter at some point, but I'm gonna go down the list in the order you signed up. So I'm gonna start with Jan Murphy.
I think I'd like to pass until a little bit later, if that's
Okay.
okay. I'd like to hear what other people have
Okay.
to say.
And I'm not sure. What the next word is.
The next
person.
name,
Yeah.
not word.
Well,
Ted.
Is
Ted.
it two
That's Ted.
people? Is it Ted and
No, Ted.
Ted?
Ted Vanderwood?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha.
he's right there.
Ted,
Yeah, that's me.
take it away.
First, I want to say Igor does a good job.
Thank you.
All you guys have. I've dealt with him with a couple issues of different things in our neighborhood, so, and he does respond pretty quickly. I don't know if a person that you call short-term can sit there and come into our neighborhood with a motorhome and park on our streets and sit there and has a right for 72 hours to stay there. Maybe a little bit different than a short term, but to me, that's like a short term rental. Because the city's not saying that they're the state or whoever gives them the right to leave
State
it.
law, yeah.
I wish they could change that.
Yeah.
Because we don't need these intruders in our neighborhoods.
Correct.
Along with the rest of this stuff, just like Duke says. This is we moved here to be around families and get to know neighbors and be around here. And I'm good at that. I like to know my neighbors and stuff like this. I don't want riffraff in my neighborhood. And that's what I call a lot of these people that come in and they're out in a couple days. It's like they're spot checking and seeing what's around in our neighborhoods. It isn't always good. It might help you guys bring in some kind of revenues and this and that. That's not my problem. But my problem is my safety of my home and the value of my home. And that's what I want to keep. I want to keep a family tradition in these areas, not business. Business needs to be somewhere else. That's all I got to say.
All right, thank you. John?
Yeah, hi. By the way, you guys are great. I appreciate it. I live over on the north side of Somerville. And I pass 3 short-term rentals every day going in and out. And I've never really reported it. It bugs the heck out of me because it is a trash problem. The trash barrels are out. Myself and him or somebody else picks up the bear, gets in there and goes crazy. Okay, not a big deal. The one particular home that's on Huckleberry is a problem. It's over, you know, what is it designed? It's a 3-bedroom. What is it? What did you guys say? 6 people or is it 8? 3-bedroom occupancy?
6 now, right?
Is it 6?
Yeah, we lowered it. Oh,
Okay, so it's
3 in the bedroom plus 2.
okay. During the season, that thing is got 15 people in it consistently. The good thing is it's inland and it doesn't. My big problem is it messes up the neighborhood. I'm totally against short-term rentals, 100%. Just to let me tell you that right off the get-go. I'm with Duke on this. I mean, it really hurts the neighborhood. Because I've seen it. I pass it every day. It's just not, it's not good for the area. The big problem that I have is septic tank blowout. And if that happens, in Wohank at least, all hell will break loose. You know, that's not good.
Correct.
I'm talking about occupancy that's maxed out, because they all do it. You're kidding yourself if you think that Ma and Pa and 2 kids are coming. It doesn't happen.
Okay.
We all know that. We get 16 people in that one place. There's a place across from it that is completely out of control. And it might be off the grid, as they say, or what do you guys say, underground? There's a couple of underground places.
Is it in the city limits for sure?
Yes, positive.
On Huckleberry.
It's on Huckleberry.
Okay.
It's a kind of a mystery thing, but I've got a big problem with septic tank blowout and overusage of the septic tank. That's a safety, you know, you could call it a safety concern.
Yeah, like safety health issue, sure.
I'm constantly looking at that place going in and out of Huckleberry as I do my stuff, and it's well kept up place, but it's just overoccupied. Both of those places on Huckleberry, and there's some hidden underground places around there that. Does the inspector work during the weekend?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's really what I have to say about that.
But I guess I have a question. You admitted that you've never complained about any of them. So
I haven't.
How would you expect the city to address an issue if there's not a complaint about that particular situation?
You're right.
If we don't know about it, we can't address it, we can't take care of it. So then there's no complaint. There's no problem.
I'm guilty. I don't want to be a knucklehead, and cause problems.
Most of our neighborhood's gonna be that way.
You know, I'm very passive that way, but I get a little bit,
Well,
But if we're gonna get it taken care of,
yeah,
You
I
gotta
need
say
the
something.
numbers and I need people to talk to.
I'll send you a message and you can share some addresses and we'll see what we
Okay.
can find out.
I have some addresses
Okay.
that I'd like to give
Appreciate
you,
that.
and there's some hidden ones within there that are a little bit
Okay,
undergroundish.
all right. Yeah, our code enforcement person and our building permit tech, they do drive around. Pam's usually Monday through Thursday, but Igor works weird. He'll adjust for holiday weekends and he will go in on Saturdays and Sundays and Monday holidays. and-
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's very proactive. It's part-time, so we give him a lot of latitude. He's smart.
Good.
He'll come on odd hours and,
Just
it
wanted
used to
to-
be during business hours, and if the phone rang and nobody's here at 8 o'clock at night on a Friday night, we don't get the message until Monday. So we've changed that. He'll come in here and check email and.
Oh, really?
and phone messages,
Okay.
yeah. 6
No, it's a
o'clock
good
on
point.
Fridays and Saturdays.
There's a
I haven't
business card
complained.
right on the front too.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That's just about it, really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tina Johnson.
Hi, I'm Tina Johnson, I live on Cloud 9 Road. First of all, I'm sorry to say this, but there's more than one bad apple. Some of us have started complaining back in 2020. Some of you that have been around for a long time might remember me. And then we quit because frankly, nothing was happening. And I know you said, well, how can we do anything? Well, let me give you some examples. For example, there were lots of complaints on this particular property on Cloud 9 Road. They use our access road that goes through our backyard to get to this, Brambles Lake House. There I said it. And there were a lot of complaints. So many complaints from a lot of different people that they were fined. And you can look that up and see how much they were fined. They're given like 20 years to pay the fine. I mean, it's ridiculous with no interest.
Could I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, because let's go, that's why I brought up the calendar. So we can't fix anything from 2020 at this point, but the current ordinance, I hope that's gotten better, and that's since, fall of '24. So, because you and I have talked a couple of times about how the lot was created and it's a flag lot and you gotta share
Okay,
that.
well, let me tell you something that happened in November, and I
Okay.
did not call it in or come in because I'm just kind of done. So in November, we see all these cars coming through our driveway, and I'm counting, and I counted at least 18 people getting out of the cars, and this is for a house that's supposed to have 9 people. So we don't know the property management because they keep changing and they've never given it to any of the neighbors. So I called and I got the name of your code enforcer, very nice man over the phone. I think you might want to look at the hours that he works, or maybe he's recently changed the hours, because in November, problems really start like at 10 p.m. when the noise isn't being followed. And he doesn't work at 10 p.m. At least he didn't when I called him. So that's a problem. My second thing is,
And let me, real quick.
yeah,
Since this all started, we changed the noise ordinance as well, because it used to say 7 p.m. and nobody would enforce it because in the summer it doesn't even get dark until after 9. It's now 10 p.m.
and what time does he work? Get off
And he
work?
does vary, I don't think he ever works past 10 though.
No.
And so,
No. And that's when a lot of the partying and the drunk and all of that happens. So I'm just saying, it's something you might want to think about
Yeah.
are his hours. Nobody wants to work those hours, I get it, but those are the hours that we're really struggling with, that we
Okay.
need help with.
understood.
So he told us the name of the property manager, and he said, call them. So we called the property manager for this particular property, and this is what we were told. Well, let me call the person who's in charge of renting this out, and I'll get back to you. She got back to us, and she said, most of those 18 to 20 people, so she wasn't sure how many, are kids, so they don't count. And I said, excuse me?
Yeah.
And she said, well, they're college kids and they're here for a big track meet in Eugene. So they don't count in that number of 9. And I said, that's the problem, are the college kids that are renting this property. And I said, but
And
it's
they do
nowhere in the
count,
code.
Because we used to have kids were exempt, but we meant like 3-year-olds, so.
Yeah, well,
we
they
just
don't
changed
seem,
it.
the property management
Okay.
doesn't seem to know.
What is it now?
Is there an
It's
age?
humans. No,
It's
I
human?
mean, a newborn, we don't count newborns. Yes,
Yeah.
it's just people.
Yeah, well, she said it didn't count, and this is the property management.
Wow.
So I called the code enforcer person back, and I said, so I'm being told that kids don't count. And he said, well, if there's a problem, I'm off at, and I believe it was 7 at the time in November.
Yeah, it varies.
So, okay, so nothing happened. So some of us are just at the point where, why report it? We're kind of done. We know the sheriff isn't gonna come out, we know that. I bought a gun. I've never in my entire life thought I needed a gun. But I mean, when I heard the sheriff say, he came to one of the meetings and I thought, okay.
Even if he's
You
coming,
have a code
it could be an hour
enforcer,
away.
very nice person, but he's not working the right amount of hours. You have, people in the past who did make a lot of complaints, and then the people are fined, but they have forever to pay it off. You have,
I think that
people
was an
saying that there's
instance-
one bad apple. There's not one bad apple.
That was an instance that they had forever to pay it off, and that was
Yeah, the bad
previous
apple thing.
people.
Yeah, and I'm the one who brought it
That's
up.
not
A lot of
the case.
bad
Previous
apples.
administration, yeah.
Okay, well, when I brought it up, everyone seems kind of surprised on the council, and then they looked it
Now, we
up.
have a couple of bills that
Okay.
people got forever term.
You know, I didn't call when they hit my dog, my little golden doodle. I didn't call. They were going way too fast. I'm done calling.
Okay.
You still have a problem. And I said back in 2020, when you were starting to create the resolution, the ordinance, I said, you have got to make it so that people that own these houses live within 20 miles, within 30 miles, because this particular house, they live in the state of Washington. I call them and they hang up on me. I mean, I can't talk to them at all. I'm supposed to call property management, who comes up with these crazy, crazy answers. Well, these are kids, a lot of them are kids, so, you know, we're gonna let that go.
Well, and since then, because there was an issue with notice and figuring out who, the short-term rentals in the first ordinance, they had to notify, and we found out they weren't notifying
No,
neighbors. Nobody
never
knew.
notified us.
So, since then, the city said, we'll notify, and now we have an interactive map on the website, and it's up to date with who to contact, names, numbers, usually email or whatever contact
Name and
info
phone
they
number.
give us. And so that's kept up to date, so you can go to the city's website and it will have the current management company or
Right, and the
owner's
code
representative.
enforcer did know the property management. We didn't know it,
Yeah,
but he knew
and
it.
we made it easier to find them, because we heard that story a number of times, that it was the best kept secret. The other is, the city we weren't requiring any signs, and we had this discussion about signage and what's allowed. We do have a sign code that always.
Well, they
already
put signs
allows.
in our yard.
They allow small signs. A lot of other communities, they require a sign. You know, it says, this is a Bob's rental, here's Bob's phone number, and they have to put it in the front yard. So we wrestled with that, about whether we should require that right out front, or, so anyway, our compromise is, it's public information, it's on our website, it's there, it's available 24/7. You know, it's not perfect, but it's better than it was, I hope.
Well, if you changed his hours, because when the problems are occurring, they're off.
They change all the time.
Is that the
Well, that's not gonna help me to know that their hours change all the time. Do I call them at 10 at night when there's a big party
Yeah, if he's
going
working,
on?
he'll answer the
Who's
phone.
contact? Is it the management company or the owner of that property?
It can be either.
So management company probably is not,
Well, they're off,
Checking that
if
too,
they're
yeah.
using a service, they're the ones that is obligated to be the first responder.
You get an answering machine when you call them past 6 o'clock. You get an answering machine. And I was told by the code enforcer that I'm off at this time. He told me what time he's off. So I don't know who I'm supposed to call
You
when
need
the
to
parties
take-
are going
You need
on.
to get his business card and
I
he
have
needs,
his business card.
he
I
needs to
called him.
respond.
Not after a certain time. He's a very nice man, but,
That's what his job is.
well, you might wanna look into that.
Okay, next one.
Don't say
let's-
there's one bad apple, because some of us have kind of given up a little bit.
Hey, that's good. Chris John, we gotta get to all these.
Oh, you're not.
Good evening, council members. I appreciate you volunteering your time to help this community. I myself have volunteered both on the road committee and water quality committee in the past. My name is Chris John. I live on Russell Drive. We have owned the property since 1999. That's 27 years that we've been here. I want to speak to you about short-term rentals that are not owner-occupied. There are no positives, zero positives to SDRs in your neighborhood. None. The reasons all result in diminishing the sense of community. We built our home here because it was quiet, family-oriented neighborhood in a quiet community. It was a nice place to live. Just last Christmas, 6 carloads of renters arrived at the STR across the street. Later, I spotted several guests ignoring the no trespassing signs to walk through my neighbor's yard to the water's edge. When I asked them to leave, they claimed their renters' rights. They assumed they had some rights. The confrontation left my household feeling uneasy for the remainder of their 5-day stay, only for a new group of New Year's revelers to immediately replace them, further shattering our neighborhood's tranquility. A STR is not a neighbor. It is a business that wants to make money, period. It has no concern for the neighborhood. It does not care that it supplants a family residence. The STR on our street is not owner-occupied. They do not have, or did not live in the house, nor live in Oregon. This STR was built with 6 bedrooms. By design and as built, the amount of bedrooms the septic system can support varies from 3 to 4 bedrooms. All permitting documentation states 3 bedrooms. That's both the permit application and the inspection final report, 3 bedrooms. All written and verbal communications with Lane County indicate 4 bedrooms. So we have 3 and 4 bedrooms, max is 4 bedrooms. The STR structure exceeds its ability to manage its wastewater, and overuse is easily visualized from the street. There are pump controllers on the side of the house. There's a red light, and it comes on. And when it comes on, it means that more water is entering the tank than the system can pump out or treat effectively. This warning light is visible during most rental periods. The second way you can tell is during the summer, when there's 2 green stripes running underneath their front lawn. They've only been renting it for 1 summer, and already the saturation point is serving the lawn to make it green stripes over the septic leach lines. Dune City Ordinance 114.44 does not reconcile the bedroom count versus the approved septic capacity discrepancies. 6-bedroom house, 4 bedrooms max for septic. Can I continue?
That's your 3 minutes. How much more do you have?
Third of a page.
Keep going.
Thank you, sir. Did Dune City intentionally allow the STR to exceed 4 bedrooms and its wastewater capability? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. Both DEQ and the council in past meetings have stated that a 1,000-gallon tank should be for 8 people max. Because the STR structure exceeds its ability to manage its wastewater, its license should be revoked in perpetuity for violating both Dune City, Lane County, and DEQ requirements. Furthermore, DEQ, the IRS, Oregon BBB, and Lane County Code 4.005.105 designate STRs as businesses. DC, Dune City Code, and our neighborhood CC&Rs declare no businesses in neighborhoods. This STR's license should be revoked in perpetuity for violating ordinances and CCRs. In spite of all your hard work, the STRs are not wanted in our neighborhoods. The council could be good neighbors and either vote here to fix the problem easily yourselves, or put this measure on the voting ballot and it will be decided unequivocally. Make Dune City a nice place to live again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Linda John.
Good evening, council members. I wrote this down because I am not good at speeches, and I am here to address a short-term rental located across the street from us at 5175 Russell Drive. It's the 6-bedroom property, and it regularly attracts large groups and has caused ongoing issues with excessive noise, increased traffic, trash, trespassing, and overall disruptions to the neighborhood. My concerns go beyond rental behavior and include some serious issues with the property manager, the owner, and Dune City's complaint process. The current system makes it difficult not only to file a complaint, but to have a complaint deemed legitimate. The sequence of requirements and conditions discourages reporting and limits accountability. And my main issue with this is if we have a complaint with the property, first we're told to contact the property manager. He has 30 minutes to answer. And if he answers within that time frame, the regulations state we can't go to Part B, which is reporting it, filing a complaint. So to me, I'm wondering how many legitimate complaints are not even put to paper because of this. And it really frustrates me because I have bypassed that procedure before, and at first I was always calling Dune City and they said, well, you have to call the property manager first. And then it was pointed out to me that if he answers within 30 minutes, I'm not allowed to file a complaint. I do anyhow, but the process says I'm not allowed to go to that part, which really frustrates me because I feel like Dune City is doing this as far as not wanting to hear any of the complaints. And then when this property manager does answer, at first he was really nice and I thought he was doing something. There were instances where we had a group of 28 bikers at this house for roadie days, and it was 16 motorcycles and I believe 3 or 4 vehicles. And several of the neighbors called the property manager and he agreed to go over and talk to them. He never did. We have a security system that points that direction. I checked it, there was no motion detected from him coming. I checked a lot of things that were motion, but nothing that showed him coming to talk to him. So it frustrates me that he has 30 minutes to respond to me and that just kind of negates everything else as far as filing a complaint or seeing if he's followed up with a complaint. And the other thing that I feel has made it more difficult is the time change, like you mentioned, where it used to be, I think, a 7 o'clock hour where anything after 7 p.m. was considered the quiet time and any noise could be reported. Well, now it's 10 o'clock and now it has to be a certain decibel. I believe it said 50 decibels and it has to be for 5 minutes solid. So, at 1 o'clock in the morning, if I'm sleeping and I hear a loud, part of your noise going on, that means I have to get my phone or something out there to go out and record the noise, hope it's at least 5 minutes worth, and then wondering if it's going to meet the decibel requirements.
How much more do you have?
I have a little bit, I have another 3/4 of a page.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. I added that stuff in and I probably shouldn't have. Okay, as mentioned previously, Jim Donahue, the property manager, told a neighbor that residents can complain all they want because Dune City needs the money and their complaints will go nowhere. He operates with an apparent confidence in that belief. On multiple occasions, he has assured us that he would address specific problems only to take no action. And one of those things is he told us that he would not allow the property to be rented for roadie weekend this year. I looked at the property website today and I could book it for roadie weekend. Beyond the impact on our daily lives, I am deeply concerned about the environmental consequences. I am concerned about the septic systems and the lake quality. I recently spoke with a resident who witnessed renters throwing trash into the lake. When confronted, the renters denied it, despite being observed. And recently I learned that short-term rentals are considered commercial use. I contacted both Lane County and DEQ to confirm this and was told the county defines short-term rentals as transient lodging, which is deemed a commercial facility and must be licensed accordingly. If short-term rentals are either legally or functionally commercial organizations, they cannot operate in residential zones. So that makes me wonder why short-term rentals here are operating in residential zones. And let's see. And I was wondering if this is what prompted some changes with other coastal communities. When I researched it, I learned that Newport limits short-term rentals primarily to commercial and tourist zones. Depot Bay prohibits new short-term rentals in residential zones unless grandfathered. Astoria restricts short-term rentals to commercial zones, and Lincoln City allows them in limited areas with long wait lists for residential properties. I urge the council to take a hard look at how short-term rentals are impacting residential neighborhoods, environmental resources, and residents' sense of peace and tranquility. While this issue may not affect us all equally, we will all be affected by this. Please make Dune City a good place to live once again and put the citizens first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Della Powell.
My name is Della, and I am actually the property management that y'all are talking about. Nobody has once contacted me personally, other than if there are complaints, I have physically gone out to these properties, all of them that we own in Dune City, or my employers have gone out there and took care of garbage. If it's still laying down, we have got bear-proof containers at all the properties now. If I get any complaints, I have actually personally left the office and went out and taken care of them. Or I have contacted the guests to take care of any noise problems, any issues at all. I personally try to take care of them. If you aren't able to get Jim to respond or anything, I can give you my personal phone number, y'all can call me.
You're here in Florence. You
I live in Dune City.
Okay.
And I work in Florence.
Okay.
But I am personally able to, I have the 24-hour phone on me, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you can call me after 10. I've been called at 11:30, I've been called at 1 o'clock, and I do show up at these properties if needed. So that's, I mean, I am here to live in Dune City, work with everybody, and try to keep everybody at peace and happy. And we're gonna have short-term rentals, like you said, we can't be without them. And I'm not all for short-term rentals. I know, it would be a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world.
Okay.
So that's my I don't own any of the properties, I just work, so, just so everybody knows.
All right. Geneva Jackson.
Okay. I'm commenting, I also have a real problem with short-term rentals, and I would point out that our survey, when you surveyed the community, the council was told we don't want them, but somehow we still have them. Anyway, I'm commenting on short-term rental issues documented in the compliance officer's report from January 7th. The report describes serious disturbances affecting residents: trespassing to access the lake at night, excessive noise, late night vehicle congestion, and unsanitary behavior, alongside repeated non-responsiveness by at least one property manager stating that the city will not enforce. 2 points of process also need attention. First, the monthly reporting format that understates harm. One incident can generate multiple resident contacts, yet it's only logged as one complaint. Second, the compliance officer lacks tools and the authority for decibel-based enforcement. If you look at the report, he's thinking something sounds like something. He needs better equipment.
You're right.
And for addressing conduct that is better handled by police officers. Respectfully, I ask the council to consider 4 actions. 1, establish a permanent cap on new STRs, building on the current moratorium. Limit vehicles associated with an STR to its maximum occupancy to prevent overflow parking on residential streets. Partner with the sheriff's office for disturbances of the peace and equip the enforcement with decibel measurement capabilities. I want you to pay for this. If you're bringing in this kind of money, and I saw the same $90,000, let's get a part-time police officer. Let's put some teeth in this. Hold STR owners and managers accountable, including revocation of licenses for repeated violations or a refusal to cooperate. I say some really high fines. Let's make it painful to break these regulations. These steps have proven effective in other tourist-heavy communities and would help protect the residential quality of our lives. Proactive action now can prevent the level of frustration that leads residents to seek prohibitions on STRs entirely. I mean, it can go to both folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene.
Hello, Jeannie Jackson. I have spoken on the subject of SDRs a number of times, and I have written letters, and I have posted things on bulletin boards. And Tina Johnson, thank you. I recognize you from past meetings. I've been attending your meetings for years, so has my sister. And some of you are very new. Maybe it's new to you. But to say we've only had one complaint, that's ridiculous. People have been complaining for years. It's just, you fail to listen and people have given up, like this woman said, even reporting it, because no one does anything about it. And, you know, as someone who's lived here for years, I love this community. We all love this community. It is ridiculous that we are all suffering so some people can make a lot of money. And a lot of these people who own these short-term rentals don't even live in the state. To me, that's just not right. It's not fair to the residents. And, you know, thank you for addressing the subject again. You know, people made it clear they didn't want it, and I think the vote on the ballot issue, which wasn't about this, but it was about how people feel about the council and how people get on the council, how easily they get on. And it's all about money. It came right down to you pay $20, you're on the council. I think people showed you. Nearly 90% of the population voted against you doing that. So I think you see there's a lot of angry people in Dune City. They just give it up coming to your meetings. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. John Gallagher.
Good evening.
Hi.
Just recently moved to the area. I want to come in and introduce myself.
Welcome.
It's okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking to buy or build my own.
All right.
So thank you.
Most meetings, there's only 2 people in there.
Right.
This is our hot topic.
I came in to observe.
All right. Thanks for coming. Paul and Linda Roberts.
Don't have any questions at this time, but I'd like to thank everybody for their participation in this discussion. It's really good.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, I have taken advantage of whatever you guys call these places.
Sure.
And followed every stinking rule and beyond, and paid a lot of money. And I would appreciate it if they would do the same in our town.
Thank you. And I'll go back to Jan. Anything you want to add now, Jan?
Well, from listening to everyone, what about hiring a full-time person who actually lives in Dune City, who can be on the clock 24/7?
I don't think that's realistic, if I can be honest.
No?
No. I mean, would you take that job? We posted that job.
Okay, so one doing 12 hours and someone else doing another 12 hours, or, you know, you can do shifts.
Really? Would you take that job? 12 hours a day, 7 days a week? I worked for the government for 30 years, and I was on call.
The idea is
365.
that we need someone round the clock, it sounds like.
That's a big expense. On call. Because that's 5 people. Because you're gonna cover 3 shifts, 7 days a week, plus vacation or leave or sick, so that generally turns into 5 bodies. If I can be
Have them work from 4 to
perfectly
12.
I mean, we can look at the work hours, but no, I'm not gonna promise 24/7. The sheriff's office for Lane County doesn't promise 24/7, so Dune City, I don't wanna get your hopes up, if I
But
could be.
someone who lives in Dune
What?
City would be a really good idea. Someone who
We
lives
posted
here
it,
and
not
cares.
one applicant came from a Dune City resident, I can't change that. It's not involuntary servitude. The new guy gets the first assignment. All in favor? But, I mean, honestly, you can say that, we can give preference to veterans, to locals, to people over 6 feet tall. You get what you get when you post a job, we can't discriminate, so, I mean, that's our reality, we're a government entity.
I have a remedy.
You have a remedy.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of you. Oh, wait, we got another one here.
I already take the calls all the time, I talk to staff every day.
Yeah, I'm
This
just-
is almost a daily occurrence, so, I mean, I'm familiar with the issues and the complaints, at least the things that do get called out. And John sent me a message and asked questions, and, I mean, we're not bashful.
They used to send him out.
We didn't send him out, he volunteered.
No, he used to be.
He don't take orders from me.
They used to have to send him out to go and.
No, he volunteered to go out.
I volunteered.
Yeah.
We don't get paid to do this.
No, and we have to be
No,
careful.
it's
We're the legislative body, right? So we need to make rules, not,
And work
our
for the
job
people.
is not to do the day-to-day fix, because we'll get confused as to what our role is.
Right.
We're trying to stay a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, because it's difficult sometimes, right? We're your neighbors too. But I don't wanna know all the ugly details, so if there's an appeal, we can all be a set of ears and listen to the appeal and be unbiased.
You need
And
to know how
so,
people.
that's the challenge, right? I mean, we're a very, I went from a big government organization to a very small government organization. This is half of the full-time employees. The
My
other
wife
half
used to
is-
work for the city here, I know.
The other half is in the back, so.
My wife used to work here.
Yeah, it's a very small government group, and,
Does the guy have to work, can he just like 3 days a week? Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing?
right now it's usually 4, right?
What? You doing that too?
He
I
works
might.
4.
It's usually
Monday,
4.
Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
5 or 6 hours a day depending, and he adjusts for holidays and that sort of thing.
I
So,
gotcha.
and part of this is an element of surprise, right? We're not gonna advertise
True.
that he's here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, you know, so he goes randomly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's effective, sometimes you miss him, right? I mean, sometimes you miss him depending on the day of the week, and other days he drives by and he's like, no, I was there, and I
seen him driving.
it was a Thursday or whatever, yeah, and so.
What's he doing on a weekend here? No.
So, anyway, so that's everybody on the list, and,
Can I
got some
make
good
one more
notes.
comment? I
Yeah.
forgot something.
Okay.
They were having sewer problems, and you reminded me, thank you. They were having major sewer problems at this particular short-term
Yes.
rental.
Yes.
So they were having someone come out and bring up the sewer
Pump
every
it.
2 weeks and
Yes.
pump it every 2 weeks.
Yes.
And so
Wow.
it smelled really bad every 2 weeks.
It was an open cesspool.
It was an open cesspool, and they're on the lake. And I kept calling at that time, and I was told, well, they're trying to figure out X, Y, and Z. We have to give them 90 days or whatever. Somehow 90 days turned into 9 months. They were there every 2 weeks
Yep,
for 9 months.
understood.
Well, maybe you understand, but I live right next door, and that
understand that
cesspool's
too.
right next to the lake where we get our drinking water. So I'm just
Yes.
wondering, why did it
So-
take 9 months?
First of all,
That is
there wasn't an open cesspool, there was a test pit.
Well, we could see.
There was a broken septic tank that was original equipment and it caved in. Somebody drove on top of it on accident. So it was pumped every 2 weeks and it was up to the county to issue a permit to do the septic work. City doesn't do that. The county decided to take that to the state because it was a complex case and it did take that long. And we didn't have anything to do with it and we were at the mercy of getting a permit and getting the work done. And they did, as soon as it was permitted, they got it done, and in the interim, they made sure nothing went to the lake. They pumped it dry. It was booked out, so they pumped it as often as it took, and I know that was it was an awful situation.
Excuse me, I submitted photographs to the city here of that exact situation, and I have a difference of opinion.
I appreciate
I
that.
saw that pit open for months at a time.
But that wasn't waste in the pit, that was water. They did a test pit, they filled it with water, and during the
Maybe
wet
I'm not
season, it was
old enough
wet.
to understand what waste smells like, but let me tell you something, it smelled like septic waste.
I think because the top of the tank was open, you could still smell it, but
No.
I mean, well, that's what I got from the state and the county, that was an open pit and it was a test pit and it was filled with water to test infiltration. And it was never, the pit was never full of sewage, but the tank was open to the atmosphere because it had cracked. I believe it was fire.
They closed them all down, they took them all out.
So that was an awful situation and I hope that was a one-time, because the septic was in the front yard and somebody drove onto the lawn and broke it.
It would have been there for decades and decades, I don't.
Yeah, that's part of the original. From, I think, about 1950. So, did we miss any comments? Let me start in the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I live on Huckleberry Lane.
What's your name?
Pat Briggs.
Thank you,
I
Pat.
live on Huckleberry Lane, we've been here for probably 8.5 years, and, we bought this beautiful home with a view of the lake, and the first night that we were sleeping in this new home, we heard a whole lot of noise down on the lake, and we had no idea. We just thought it was a nice neighborhood, and it was like mariachi music, and it went on and on and on. So that was our first introduction to moving to this beautiful home, and we found out, yes, it was a short-term rental. And some of the same places that John Caldwell talked about are Like one of them's right across from us, one of them's down a few houses, there's another one on the other side. So we're surrounded, and one of them, the really nice one that's across the street from us, you know, we had no idea. We thought for sure some nice family was gonna come move there, and that's not what happened. And then I know someone who lives on Little Woking, and a similar thing. A home nearby was up for sale, and a really nice couple from Eugene bought it. They bought it to be a short-term rental, so, and there are tons of people there all the time. So I agree with Councilor Wells, you know, it's a livability issue, and also, I know that housing's expensive here, but every one of these that happens to takes away a home from someone who needs it, and so that's really important. And then, is it Larry? I really appreciate all the research that you did and what you put together. And I was thinking, you talked about a lot of other cities changing their mind and wanting to get rid of these rentals. And probably most of them are larger, and yes, they have a police presence, but maybe some of them are smaller. And so, and maybe you've already done the research, but how are they approaching getting rid of them and preventing that underground situation from happening? So maybe some more research. I also agree with Chris Johns. I think it should be on the ballot. The people of the city need to have a say in this, so.
Thank you. And another comment.
I kind of feel like walking into the lion's den here. My name is Von Helmuth. My family has long-term ties here since the mid-60s. Some of you who've been around a while may have known my parents, Darrell and Marty Helmuth, who helped start the Woking Lake Association. And right now, in order to help keep the family home in the family, it's a short-term rental. And I'm really shocked and appalled to hear all this crap you guys are going through. That shouldn't happen. Whenever we're here, we talk to the neighbors, and really, I am hoping that they call us before or in addition to the management people, because it's not always great here with the management companies. We've had a few problems, as most people have. I really like some of the comments in regards to perhaps finding some way to increase the code enforcement here. Both hours and number of people, and the contacting, I believe it was contacting the manager, and they get back within 30 minutes, automatically stops the clock. That should be addressed somehow. I'm not sure how to do it. I guess that's why you guys earn the big bucks to deal with stuff like that. But that seems to be a flaw. And gosh, with the increasing the fines, I don't know. I guess if there was, it was fair and just, and there was good procedures, I'd be for that. People have the ability to state their case, and it worked out okay, but basically, I grew up in this neighborhood more or less. I know why people come here. I know why it's nice, and we want to keep that. And it really sounds like that there's a lot of emotion against them, and also a lot more than just one that's showing up in the comments or whatever that redacted thing was. And really need to get all these places that are causing problems front and center and deal with them. Because, people that are trying to make it work, It's taking us down too. So, thank you.
I appreciate that.
There's a hand in the back there.
Oh, sorry, yes.
I think what he's saying is great, that's a good first step. I think accountability for, get like a management phone number, but if you're willing to have that rental unit live there, offer up your number too. You should get that call at 1 a.m. If everyone else is, if someone isn't answering from management, you should be responsible for your property if you don't live there. I mean, I think that should be a stipulation for people owning and they don't live there. They should have management, they also have to offer up their number too and be responsible,
Doesn't help if they're in another state.
I think that's
their
great.
problem, yeah.
Still, yes.
Right. All right.
Switches to turn the phones off.
So, well, I mean, that's the reality, right? I mean, the 24/7, that's difficult.
Yeah.
I lived with that. We took turns. There was a couple of us, but.
I mean, if you want that property and you want to take on that responsibility, you should own it. I mean, the reality is the problems happen between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. So someone should be responsible for that,
Well, and I imagine if somebody's screening calls, if you call and say they're noisy, you get one kind of response. If you called and said your house is on fire, you would probably get a different response, though you can only use that
You can say whatever you want, but
Well, maybe if they don't respond to the call, they can get fined for that. So that there's some incentive to respond.
Accountability always.
Yeah, accountability. You just have to be, you can't live in California, buy a property here and be like, go ahead, neighbors, I mean, it's just not.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think we may have, I misunderstood the legislative intent, because when we were going through this, it was call the management company first, because there's somebody responsible for that property. And if they call you back within 30 minutes, but it wasn't you stopped the clock because they called back, you were supposed to be getting a remedy.
Right.
So if you called and you said it's noise and they said, I will take care of it, then it was taken care of. If you're calling and it's falling on deaf ears, you could still complain to the city. And I think that's why, Linda, yours are all documented. It's both, because it quite often was, I just called the city and left a voicemail and I expect them to do something. And in the past, we didn't have a code enforcement person. It was just a voicemail. It's Monday through Thursday, closed at 4 p.m. So they were all weekend voicemails. And so we're like, that doesn't work. You need to call the management company. So now we have a point of contact on the website. We want to make it easily found. But I agree, maybe you need both, right?
Yeah, I think
If
you want that property and you're willing to be responsible for it,
list both.
give your number up. I mean, you should be responsible too. So obviously first management, but if nothing's being done, that's your property,
Yeah. And one of the realities, if you say, we called and they didn't do anything, how do you document that? It's just that he said, she said. How does the city say, that's a finable offense? They swear they called you at 9:07, or they show you a phone log that says, I dialed the phone at 9:07. But that's really difficult procedurally. How do we know you got the right number, you talked to somebody or you didn't, and then that somebody said, you got the wrong number, or that's not our property anymore. I mean, there's a million possibilities. And I'm not making excuses, but that's hard to manage before you start fining people. We're here because they can appeal to council if they don't feel the fine's appropriate. So that's our reality. The mayor and the council are not making those decisions so they can appeal, and the residents can appeal to council with those concerns, and we're trying to be unbiased about the situation. So as Melissa put it. So I appreciate the comments, and I have lots of notes.
I do think that the septic is one of the biggest issues that we need to be concerned
Yep,
about.
and we are, that was number one. The county reviews them all, they have to pay, I don't know, there's a county now process for short-term rental, and there was a comment or a question, I don't know if it was a question, but, so short-term rental is viewed as a commercial use in residential zoning. So there's no zone change required, these are not commercial properties, that changes everything in the zoning and land use. We have, Dune City is almost entirely residential properties. The commercial is the RV park on 101, Darling's Marina.
And our house
is
a commercial.
Commercial zoning?
Yes.
Yes, we used to, it used to be the seaplane base.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a number of those, mostly they were grandfathered in when the city was incorporated, most of the properties. I think there's only 11 properties that are commercially zoned. And so the city hasn't, we actually have a or planning commission chair in the back, we haven't entertained a zone change to commercial in ever, right? We just don't do that. It's residential, it's now 1 acre minimum residential. We are a community of houses. So, I mean, we studied all this, right? It is a business, it does pay taxes, but it's not, we don't require commercial rezoning and fire sprinklers and, you know, and parking lots like a shopping center would. So, and we followed that. We followed the model. I mean, there was some state interpretation and land use. LUBA says it's not a land use. Short-term rental is not a property right, so you can't appeal to the Land Use Appeals Board, or at least no one ever has. There's been no successful appeal to land use appeal because it's a special use permit, if you will. It's not a right. So communities can regulate them. I mean, it is it's a complicated thing, and we can't require that to own a property in Dune City, you live in the neighborhood. There's Fair Housing Act, you know, we can't discriminate. You can buy, you can invest. That's not unique to the United States or Oregon or Dune City. So there's a lot of those things we looked at, but you can't make somebody live next door to the property they own. We have a couple of these that are owned by people that own lots and lots of properties, and some of them they own 2 properties. You know, one's their primary home, and the other one is their summer home, and it's rented out sometimes. And to Vaughn's point, we've heard that story. There's family homes, you know, they've been in the family, and they can't afford the taxes and the maintenance if it's not rented out from time to time, or a lot of the time. I mean, we don't limit that anymore. You're either a licensed rental or you're not a licensed rental. To get rid of those exemptions and those people that said, I only do it once in a while, so I'm not gonna comply. And the county does inspect the septic, and they do look at it differently. We don't regulate septic. Permits are issued by the county through the authority of the state, and but we do look at that, and that is a sign off for the county. So to my knowledge, we haven't had any backup and overflow since we started doing this. 15 months ago, 16 months ago, they've been inspecting them all, and one was completely reconstructed through a different, you know, through an accident. But
is yours an overflow?
No, it's overused, but not overflow.
And that one's got advanced treatment, right? That's why it's got the red light on it. It's not just a traditional tank.
No, it's a class 1B, so it's got a tank with a pump.
Yeah, and oxygenation or denitrification, whatever you need on it. Okay. Yes, Larry.
So one of the things that we discussed this evening kind of obliquely is that some of these communities have banned short-term rentals in residential areas, but they've retained them in hotel districts and commercial areas. And I think that's still possible here. Even though our town is kind of unique, we have mostly residential, but we do have some commercial areas, and we have, you know.
But they're already all
I understand.
Rental units.
I understand, I get that. But like the one that's my neighbor's, it's not in a commercial area, it's in a residential area, right?
All of them are in commercial, I mean, are in residential.
No, I don't think so. I think the seaplane base is not, I think it's commercial.
I would say a majority of them
No,
are
I
in
mean, that's one commercial property with a house. I think
Right.
that's unique. That's the only one.
Right, so I'm saying that that would be an exception. But what I.
Wouldn't even be an exception if
I'm
it's
coming-
commercially zoned.
Well, I'm coming back to my point. My
Okay.
point is that when asked, some of these communities, including Maui, have eliminated short-term rentals in residential areas, but allowed them to continue in hotel zones and commercial areas. And that's exactly what one person here mentioned is happening up in Newport, Depot Bay, and other small communities. So it is possible to do that. That was one point I wanted to make. And I also wanted to thank everybody for coming. But the second point of order I'd like to bring up is I made a resolution. So I'd like it either call for a second or declare it.
Well, you haven't motioned to do anything and it
I
would
made
be
a motion.
premature.
I made a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
was a
it was
motion.
premature,
So
so we had a lot of discussion.
I understand. So I'd either like you to call for a second. You could rule it out of order
Okay.
because, let me finish my point.
Yep.
My point is, I think the city and this council and our community, we are all handcuffed by this problem. We are all handcuffed. On the one hand, we don't want short-term rentals. On the other hand, we want code enforcement. And we apparently, to some people, think we need the money. to pay for that.
And
And for City Hall.
the city council's never stated that.
I understand.
I
I'm
promise
saying,
that.
that's my opinion, okay? What I'm saying
No, I
is.
mean, but it was quoted in a couple of letters.
I
It
understand.
didn't
What
come
I'm
from us.
saying is I feel like we were all handcuffed. So the reason I'm asking you to call for my motion is to put this on the record, because I honestly think the only way to fix it is on the ballot. If we can't pass it tonight, let's put it on the ballot.
Well, I think there's, I mean, you brought it up, and on the other hand, because there's some more hands here,
Right.
I don't want the city to get sued by anybody that has an existing permit, because the cost of the defense will be way more than we collected this year.
That's something to talk
That's a
about, but
fiscal
I
reality.
made a motion, I'm just looking for you to
Okay,
finish the
well,
process.
before we take a second on that, there's a
Okay.
discussion.
Okay.
So, that's one of our fiscal realities, is we pay for an attorney, we have two attorneys on contract, and they cost money. So defense of a lawsuit would certainly cost a lot more than that, and there's no free lunch there either, so I want to proceed cautiously. I agree, rather than a resolution, especially tonight, without noticing all of those parties specifically, a ballot initiative is probably more appropriate, because it takes this away from whoever the city council is, and that changes every couple of years. And you don't, like your point, Rich, it's Groundhog Day. We're gonna end up every 2 years, or every other, whatever it is, annually, having the same discussion. And if it's just a discussion and a minor adjustment or whatever it is, I mean, that's okay too, but a ballot initiative potentially could put this to rest forever. And I don't think we're subject to any sort of lawsuit or appeal to the Land Use Appeals Board, because it's not a property right. Living there is a property right in residential zoning. Doing anything else is not. And
Right, which is why I think I've made a resolution. I made every attempt to properly notice everybody that I was bringing it this evening. So I think we should vote on it. If you
Okay,
later
well,
find out, if you later
it's
find
not
out.
properly noticed, let me,
Okay,
for the record.
Okay, that's fine. So if you believe it's not properly noticed, you can find out if that has any effect on a motion of this type. It does for an ordinance. I don't believe it does for a resolution.
Well, I have an abundance of caution, because nothing's gonna change in the next 2 weeks. I would just say we continue that thought, or this whole agenda item, so that it remains open until we get legal advice.
Okay.
Or simply post it on the next agenda that we're gonna entertain a resolution, because we need to publish this resolution for the public, for everybody.
Okay, I don't mind publication. I don't mind that.
Well, I hope not, because
But
it's the law.
It is,
And I feel
but no, I'm
strongly
saying,
about
I don't mind it being public. I tried to get it to be public.
that. I got it.
I reached out to you
And it
to
was the
say-
holidays, and there wasn't sufficient
I
time, so it
understand.
was.
So if you would like to rule it out of order tonight because of not being properly
No.
noticed, do so.
How about we just continue it?
Okay, that's fine with me.
And we have a motion on the floor, and we're gonna continue this item
Okay, very good.
to the next meeting, or a future meeting if we can't get a legal, by then. So it should be on the next agenda, presuming we can get, some legal advice.
Okay,
And
so-
and then we'll have time for our traditional week posting and,
And I think that's good. I think that's a good process. I respect
Yeah,
that
okay.
process. So what I'm saying is to everybody, let's watch the process because we're handcuffed up here. If we're stuck with this law, you folks have the power of the ballot box.
yeah,
You can do something.
Can I add something about that?
awkwardly,
About lawsuits? Because I've heard that brought up many, many times about Dune City's afraid of getting a lawsuit. But when I was reading the permit application, when people want to have a short-term rental and file the appropriate paperwork, I thought I read something that said that there was a clause that said that Dune City would be held harmless. And
Yeah.
it had a long list of,
that and $2 will get you a cup of coffee back to you.
I thought it was from any legal implications.
Except
any
this
decisions
would
about
be
the permit.
changing the rule at tonight's meeting with no notice. And I feel very strongly that somebody out there might have really good standing to sue us. So I'm just gonna put that out there. So we're gonna continue this until we get some legal advice. And I don't wanna take any more comments, because at this point,
I just have a question.
okay.
Do they have to reapply every year? Can it
Yes.
expire and you guys?
No,
like-
right now it's a renewal. It's not automatic.
Right, so
Yeah.
they have to, it's automatically renewed or they
No.
have to reapply?
They come back and say they wanna renew.
Okay, that's what I
So there's certain steps, if it's a renewal, you don't do, like, they don't go back and look at the
But they
septic
have to
unless something else
reapply.
changed. But
Okay,
yes.
It's
they're-
just not automatically renewed?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, depending on the timing or whether it was a ballot initiative, over time, they would all expire.
Yeah.
And then
That's
we're
what I
held
was
harmless because you ran the term of that agreement. I just don't want anybody saying we we pulled the rug out from under them in the middle. Part two of that is, I mean, you put 12 months.
I just thought it was a courtesy to
Yeah,
let people
and that puts us-
wind it
'cause
down.
we're halfway through the period, so that puts us at a different awkward date, but we're not in a position to get refunds for half of that period either. So there's a number of details to work out if it goes that direction. So we can continue this, get some legal advice, and then we can decide how to proceed. And if we get it in the next week, then there's sufficient time to notice this. And if there's not, it'll just go to the following meeting.
Perfect.
For the discussion.
Because I think,
That's
I think it'd be important for this council to go on the record, each of us, where we are and how we sit on this issue.
Absolutely, that's fine. Just don't want to do it prematurely.
May I ask 2 questions?
Yeah, there's the first one.
Well, then 3.
Okay, for you, Melissa.
So, just so I'm clear,
Yeah,
one's gonna be to the audience, if I may, with your permission.
okay,
Because the size of the audience, like you mentioned before, we normally have 3 people in the audience, so it's nice that we have a full house. Thank you. Someone said, can I ask? No. Okay.
let her rip.
Seeing that everybody is wanting to short-term rental cease of action to stop them all, what is your guys' plan for the, if they were to cease and no longer be in existence, of all the nuisances that would potentially happen, what is your guys' resolving factor to that? Out of my curiosity. If Dune City had no control and ability to help in any way, what would you guys plan on doing at that point? Anybody?
My input on that would be, we'd still have an ordinance. And with that ordinance, we would still have the ability to hold people in check. And having our code enforcement officer still here, he's doing other things, right? He's not, there's a good possibility he could still be here. And if not, then it gets scaled back, but we figure out how to do that code enforcement. I mean, it's not an all or nothing thing. There's gotta be a way to balance that so that we have minimum code to protect our neighborhoods, but a code enforcement of some kind to be able to, follow up.
Otherwise, everybody's walking around with a gun.
Because that's my big concern.
Strike that from the record, please.
My biggest concern is that would be changes to the ordinance, absolutely have to be done.
Sure.
And with that, having the ability to assist and control, it's gonna tie the hands further of you guys on how to control it. It's gonna strict our hands.
Well, and we can go back 3 years, we had an ordinance.
We did, and it was far
basically
worse.
our permit technician was code enforcement
And we
sometimes.
were killing her.
Yeah, and then we write a letter, but we didn't have anybody, she works office hours, so we didn't have anybody on nights or weekends ever. And we would still write a letter, we could still say, we're gonna find your property, if you don't pay the fine, we'd lien the property.
And we had
So there are
we'll
some
pay
steps.
something over the next 90 years.
No, we're never gonna do that again.
I understand that, but it's what happened.
We learned our lesson on
And
that.
then second question, if we do allow this and it does go to the ballot measure, which I would be for, wouldn't that remove us for the risk of lawsuit?
I think so.
Perfect, thank you.
And I just want to reflect, you asked for us to reflect. I agree with both you and Larry that I would love this to become a ballot issue. We have asked for that repeatedly.
Okay, if I could, we're not gonna do the comments the second time, we're gonna run out of
Okay, you
time.
asked for comments, I guess you're not doing them.
You know, we got to the end of the comment period. She had a question, and then you had another question.
Nope,
Okay,
I have my
good.
3, it was to ask the 2 questions and
Okay.
then those were my 2 questions.
Okay. All right, because we have a motion on the floor, we're gonna continue the item, so, we'll get legal advice on the resolution and proceeding with that. And with any luck, as long as we get legal advice, we will be continuing to the January 21st meeting. And then, we'll renotice that, obviously. And if we don't get legal advice by then, we'll make a note that it's being continued again. Have 6 minutes to look at our business licensing chapter, if you so desire.
think until we resolve this.
I think we can continue that too.
Okay, well, and that's fair, and Larry, you mentioned there was no intent to bring up business licensing right now to license short-term rentals. This was two different things that just happened to show up on the same night. We had a request from staff to look at business licensing on the categories that require licenses and the categories that don't, because it's difficult out in the field sometimes to figure out who's on first, so.
And I want to thank staff for getting a bunch of different options
Yeah.
for us to look at. That was great, thank you.
Yeah, and now you have their fee schedule to go with it in there for comparison. So if we continue that, we have no executive session tonight, for the good of the order. Let's start with Duke.
Yeah, I agree. I've been listening, great turnout, got a lot of information. I think it's worse than it's ever been myself. I think the folks over in Cloud Nine, they were having a problem here, coming here 5, 6 years ago. Same problem going on. Now there's new folks on Russell. I 100% on board with what Richard's saying about, if we get rid of them, we're gonna have the underground. But I've been sitting here thinking, I don't know the legalese of all of it, but if there is underground, you know, you were saying you had some places that you know. Report who you think it is so we can find out if it in fact is, and if it in fact is, we need, again, I'm no attorney, but we need to sue them.
Yeah.
I mean, sue them. Don't give them letters and all of that stuff, say, we see what you're doing, it's against the law in Dune City to do what you're doing, and sue them.
Well, I think if we had no short-term rentals allowed,
Yeah.
then the fining process would get a lot easier.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Right? So you could go right to, here's your first fine, your second fine, your third fine.
Well, going on what Rich was saying, no. We have this and it's going on, but it obviously has no teeth. Nobody's afraid of it. We have some good property owners that are doing their due diligence and doing a great job of being short-term rentals, you know?
Right.
Some folks are doing that. The ones that aren't, to me, just put some real teeth in it and give them one warning, and the next time they're done. And if they stay in business, sue the crap out of them. Get them out of business, make it not viable for them to be in business anymore. But the whole comes down to this, it's the people, it's the citizens. We have to do something for these folks. There's too many of them out here that are having a hard time with this crap they're having to put up with. And it's just what I said, I knew that there was more going on that's getting reported, just like I said, people are tired, they don't think anything's gonna happen. We have to make sure that something happens, quickly. That, you know, we got a problem.
Thanks. Melissa?
I would like to say, I would like to make it a good place to live again. It's not been a good place to live for a while. That's why I joined city council. I'd like to definitely see it on the agenda. I'd definitely like to see it be resolved.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's sad that we have families living in campgrounds because we have no housing. I think it's sad that people have to deal day in and day out with issues, making their lives miserable. We all perceive differently, so we cannot judge one person from another person, how they perceive it. If they're saying that it's feeling, that they feel that it's not great and that they're struggling with this, with that, then we need to listen to them. And I think we are listening to them. I wish we would have a more rapid response, but it does take time, and I understand that. But I'd like to see Dune City be the great place to live again. And I hope we can fix this quickly enough.
Susan?
I'm just grateful that people came out and voiced their opinions.
Yeah, me too.
I'm grateful we had opinions on both sides, because diversity is what works. Thank you.
How many openings do we have on the budget committee for citizens? 5?
No, 6.
We're always looking for volunteers. Is there a vacancy on the planning commission?
Yes.
So, as long as we got a full house, we always got room for participation.
Citizens that, like we said when I first got on.
Yeah.
We need those people.
Well, there was a couple others that haven't been meeting, but budget, we specifically got budget committees starting in, early spring, late winter. for,
That's next time.
for budget cycle, yes. And then we've got an ongoing vacancy on the planning commission. So if anybody's interested, leave Wiley or info. Rich?
You don't want me to like.
Not to minimize anything that you guys have been through at all, but we passed this ordinance October 24th.
Yes. For September 24th.
We have a full year's worth of reporting on here, and in that full year, plus to October, we basically have one bad apple. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have more than one bad apple, but if we don't know about them, then we can't take care of them.
So was this in the agenda backup? Has everybody seen this?
Yeah.
What we're looking at? I counted them up, Rich. There's 3, 4, 5.
Well,
10.
I don't get it.
There's one significant, but there are
There's 16
multiple
total
little.
complaints that were documented out of all short-term rentals in the last year. And 10 of them were one property.
So, I mean, we can't take care of things if we don't know about them. And I realize that you get tired of doing it, but
Well, when you
once we
call
pass.
every 2 weeks because they're pulling up the sewer and it smells so bad for 9 months.
But we're
That was
past that.
corrected.
This is post that ordinance. That hasn't happened.
And
And
that was DEQ that did that, we had nothing to do with it.
Right, that was an unfortunate situation. So, but go ahead.
They totally controlled
Sure, you
it.
didn't
But-
get by it, so.
you know, you take and you want to totally eliminate short-term rentals. And, okay, go ahead. But what are you doing to the rest of the businesses here in Dune City? You're limiting their business in the same fashion.
This house had a nurse that worked
Hold
at,
on.
no,
This
it had 2, and they rented that house for 7 years.
All
And
right.
they had to move out of the area because they turned it into a short-term rental. They were going to Darlings to eat, they were going everywhere to eat, they were spending their money here.
All right, we can't turn this into a debate, but I'm getting it. All right, Chris.
I'll just recognize that it's a complicated issue and there's emotions on both sides. For the property owners and people who have to deal with the short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. I think since we published this, we have a wealth of knowledge with Agor. So we can aim for complete elimination. Don't even know if that's even possible. But what is absolutely possible is putting that good knowledge to use by updating the ordinance to give it teeth, to solve any loopholes where people are not making complaints because there's a barrier to complaint. Like whether that barrier may be because the person's not answering the phone, or because the burden of proof is too high, you feel like you have to get like documented evidence that's beyond your ability. We can address all those issues if we have your input, but we need your engagement. So coming here tonight, even if you're burned out with years of frustration, we need you to be engaged, and I appreciate you coming out here. That's all I have.
There.
Well, I would just say that during my time as a council member, and I was a write-in candidate, all I'm told, to be here.
Yeah.
But this is the singular issue that's been the most important to everybody in the community that's talked to me. Everything else we've done here has been a cakewalk.
Yeah.
We work well together, we get through stuff in an orderly fashion, we have a consensus, we support each other in group decision-making. This is going to be a really difficult issue because there is maybe no perfect fix. You know, there's no perfect enforcement mechanism. There's no perfect way to reach a property manager who doesn't want to be reached. If you have a property owner who owns the place and lives out of town, I come back to the one central point. I don't want an STR next to my house. I want a neighbor I can go over and talk to. I want to have somebody I can go over and visit and talk about the fishing and the weather and the eagles that live above my house. That's what I want. I don't want somebody next door that's always a different character or a different cast of characters, because right now I already have that. And this is my neighbor. She's the best neighbor I have. She's the only one that's around full-time like we are. Every other house around us is just basically empty. And if there is, and one's an STR. So my idea is that, yes, I have this resolution tonight. I'm hoping that the council will act on it. But ultimately, the best way maybe to address the issue is at the ballot box, because that takes it back into the hands of the people, and I have great confidence in the voice of the people. And whatever the people decide, we will do our best to initiate that, whatever it is. Maybe it's extremely high penalties and lawsuits for people who are violating an STR ordinance. Maybe it's something else. But it's very, very difficult for us to craft an animal that's going to manage a problem that is so unmanageable and so incorrigible. So if you're thinking about it long term, think about, okay, what do I want right next to my house where I live? And then let that be your guide. Thank you.
Thank you. And one other thing, we continued that item. We'll see if we can get the dates for ballot initiative from Lane County. So we would know when we could make a deadline, because that's up to their registrar of voters and the dates and all that sort of thing. So there's some notice required. It's easier if it's a city council initiated ballot initiative.
Right,
There's no
wouldn't that be
signatures.
like the November election then? This one?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's no signatures to gather, it's a resolution to council, we have to get the wording correct, and then we can forward it on to them. And the November ballot is a big one because the governor's on there, and so I'm almost certain we could be on that. There's usually a spring, but if there's nothing published in this area, it's prohibitively expensive, and the turnout's terrible when there's nothing else on the ballot. So November is almost no-brainer to make November. The bad news would be, it would be right after all the renewals occur, if there's renewals going on. But anyway, we'll work out those details. Hopefully we can report on that in 2 weeks too, so I'll work with Lyle. And if there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn. Somebody second that?
Second.
That was Melissa. All those in favor of adjourning? Anybody want to stay longer? All right, unanimous. 8:06. It's the deadline for spring or fall.